All right, up next, we have Rest Assured and Ken Smith. And this is another Ken. This is the second Ken Smith here. Court.
That was kind of weird. I heard my name and it wasn't me speaking. First of all, I'd like to ask everybody to stand up here briefly. Because you've been sitting for a while, right? Get a little tired of sitting? Okay, now what I want to do, and this is really what I was after, is I'd like to give a big round of applause to Dustin. All right, thanks a lot. I got him a standing ovation. So when Dustin first started talking to me about this idea that he had, I thought he was a little bit nutty in the head. And then he told me the name, and I was pretty convinced that he was. And so apparently he didn't even run that by his wife, and that was a big mistake. Yeah, well, yes, it is. So anyway, but as you see somebody's dreams start coming into realization, it's such a cool thing to see, isn't it? And I think that, when we think about the dreams that we have, and some of them are just kind of crazy out of the reach dreams, like when you're a kid and you're like, you know what, when I grow up, I'm going to be an NFL football star, or I'm gonna be an astronaut. These things that seem kind of out of reach. I was going to be the Hulk, and not Hogan, the green one. And it didn't work out so well. I did take some gamma radiation, and it did have some adverse effects, but not the ones I was shooting for. But you think about those really crazy pipe dreams. Or maybe your pipe dream in life is to run your own remote. Spend 2 hours in your own home by yourself, watching what you want to watch, nobody else's input. And that's what we get to deliver through the technology that we're talking about, isn't it? And it's amazing to see the changes and the impact in people's lives. I do not come from this industry. I don't have family in it. And I have been blown away over the last 7-8 years of how much of a change that it makes in people's lives. And so one of the things that comes up, and I'm not doing a commercial for anything other than just the service in general. And one of the things that comes up a lot is, Ken, how do you transition that conversation? How do you talk to the families, Ken? I mean, I called them up and I said, hey, I'd like to set up a meeting for us to talk about remote monitoring. Well, you just lost, right? And that's what we're finding out. Okay, the wall just went up because I've got all these preconceived ideas of what this is, and I was kind of made up my mind before I even have the conversation. So I come into that meeting and I've already decided the answer is no. I'm just maybe being cordial enough to listen. But I've already made my decision. And I think after all these years of doing this, I think that our approach is one step off from being right. Because in the past, I'd say, hey, the conversation is, well, why does this person have staff? That's how we started. Why do they have staff? And let's talk about the needs that they have. But even that, we're still kind of running into that wall. So those of you who have to talk with the families and you're working, or maybe you're a family member too, maybe let's take a step back and let's actually look at support in general. And let's decide, let's have a conversation about what is realistic. Okay, and I'm going to give one example just for the sake of time. Okay, Ken, you don't understand. My loved one, they have to have staff in the home because you don't understand the neighborhood they live in. You don't understand how bad it is. Okay, that is a justifiable concern. What do you expect the staff to do about that? What is realistic? And I think in our minds, maybe as parents, we're thinking, I know what I would do. Ain't nobody getting my baby. They're going to go through me. But can we expect that of the staff person? And so maybe that's the conversation. The way we start that is we say, hey, there's a realistic amount of expectation you have for the staff. But there's a lot of things they cannot do or they will not do. And now you've just put them in harm's way, and you don't know how they're going to respond. And by the way, it's going to be a different staff person next week anyway, because we can't find staff to stick. And so if we can get the conversation to go in a direction and find out at the end of it, you know what? The best I can expect that staff person to do is to call 911. Okay? So now let's look at that scenario. Where are they at right now? Somebody just busted down the door in this bad neighborhood. And where are they at? Well, they're on call 911, hiding in a closet somewhere. Well, can you describe what the person looks like? No, I closed my eyes and ran in the other room. Well, is there anybody else with you? Yeah, but I'm not sure where they're at. So I'm just be realistic about what our expectations are. And when we start drilling down and we find out that, the best I can expect is that hopefully they call 911, now we can start talking about what other ways to accomplish that support. Well, the least invasive way to accomplish that would be through maybe something like remote supports. And now somebody who's not under duress is keeping an eye on what's going on in the home. They can respond in a cool, clear thought manner and can get a hold of 911. They can have video. They know exactly what the person looks like. They can call the home and talk to the person with the voice of God from nowhere, right? Who was that? And maybe deter that particular activity from happening and have better results. And that's just one example out of many. But I think if we start having the conversation with that in mind, let's stop talking about technology. Let's start talking about what is realistic to expect to support, and then build from there. All right, and that's all I had. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken. Good job.